feels like it's been a long time since we've been home. Probably has been. Pitt is a team that's on a little bit of a run and playing much better basketball since the last time we played them, and we expect them to make some changes. Obviously, when you lose, you make changes, and when you win, you have to also make changes, so they're not ready for the things that we did well. So it should be a game where two teams in a short span of time want to see how much better they've gotten. The ACC is, at this time of the year, if you watch the games, Duke was life and death to beat Florida State last night. Virginia Tech was down most of the game against Georgia Tech and comes back and wins in the final 30 seconds of play with a three-point shot from the corner. So it's gotten quite interesting because there are no games that you could say, well, we got a great chance of winning this game. You're going to have to really bring it and execute in order to get a W.
Is this Pitt team any different than some of the ones that you played back in the States?
No, it's pretty similar. They've got their forwards are playing really well. I don't say it's a five-man because they play really a forward at the center spot. They're not as tall as they've been in the past, but they're equally dangerous in terms of they can shoot the mid-range shot. Their forwards are playing great basketball right now. And, when you beat Notre Dame, you've got your offense has got to catch up to your defense to beat them. And it has.
That win at Pitt seemed to be a pretty pivotal win for you guys. And do you feel like you guys have been changing in a better way since, and if so, in what ways?
I don't know. With our basketball team, it's more game to game than it is improvement of players. We've been playing good basketball. We certainly played much better basketball in the second half. But we just got to get our guys to understand that every team is different and cannot be played the same way. And once we adjust to that and understanding that every team is different, it's different playing a Florida State or a Clemson than it would be a Syracuse or a Duke because of styles. It's very much different playing a Virginia than it is in Indiana. And as soon as our guys come to the realization that every game must be played differently, the better we'll become.
Rick, they had a situation where they held you guys to, I believe, 6 minutes without scoring to start the second half last time you played them. It's one thing for them
You're talking about Pitt or Virginia?
Or Pitt, sorry, yeah, Pitt. It's one thing for them to do that at home where they're very good, but are they capable of coming in here and doing the same thing to you guys, frustrating you guys offensively?
Well, I really don't think they frustrated us. Sometimes if you go to the foul line, it's scoring. So getting fouled is a big part of the game because that's like moving the ball in football and getting a pass interference call. You're moving the ball. So I'm not sure. Now, Virginia stopped us. So I think when you shoot 71% in the first half and you shoot an overall good percentage, I'm not sure you're being stopped.
The last couple games that Pitt has played, they've shot 50%, something like that. That's obviously better than what they were doing. Is it, from watching them on tape, are they getting better looks? How are they shooting?
They're just executing their offense better. They put in some new wrinkles. They have very good mid-range shooters, like Virginia. They have very good mid-range shooters. Like I said, their forwards are playing terrific.
You touched on the league race, the importance of holding serve, for lack of a better expression, winning your home game.
Well, we first got to start playing better at home. That would help. But I think the way you do this, we had a unique opportunity to beat Virginia. We would be in a tie for first place with the head-to-head competition going to us if we would have won, and we did not come through. So that was very disappointing for our basketball team, and now we get on to the next game. Every game, the good thing about it, the ACC and the Big East and conferences like that, Kansas found out playing Oklahoma State, and Baylor found out playing Oklahoma State that there's no such a thing as you could look on a schedule like you could in the old Conference USA days and say, okay, you should beat them at home. It just doesn't work that way anymore, and that's what makes it so exciting for everybody involved.
Is this kind of moving on to another segment of the schedule? You talked about at Boston College, how you broke it down with the guys, and you said, I guess, Pittsburgh was like a first-round NCAA game. They had the 4 road games and 5 games. Is this kind of, you're through that, you got through 4 and 1, you feel good about it, and move on?
Yeah, we want to start playing better at home, better basketball, where we don't get away from our fundamentals, trying to impress the crowd, try to impress the crowd with good, solid fundamentals, which makes you look better than it does the other way. So we want to dribble less, pass more, and do things at home that can help us win. Now, you know, a guy like Montrezl Harrell is going to have to find his points elsewhere because they're going to trap him, like Virginia does. They trap the low post.
Do you change anything outside of the game, the way you approach a home game?
No, that we don't do.
Nothing like that?
Yep.
At the Miami game, Montrez obviously got hit and had to go back and throw up. And then Chris said on Saturday he threw up. Is there a virus going around, or what's?
They've all been sick. I threw up at halftime too, watching Chris play.
How quickly did you shave the beard? Is that right when you get home?
As soon as I got home.
Did it get to the point where it was bothering you?
No, it wasn't bothering me.
Is that just from watching the games, you feel like they try and impress the crowd when they're home, or do you guys talk with the players?
I just think they get. I say this so much; it's a broken record. But they're such a distract. Young people today are so distracted. They couldn't sit down and give them a great book, and it would take them a year to read it at home. They could read it on the road, and they'd finish it in no time. But at home, they're just so distracted with everything going on, and they have a very difficult time focusing in. Now, Montrezl Harrell is very good at focusing. He focuses very well. Believe it or not, Shinanu, who's a freshman, he focuses very well. But that's only a couple of people.
So they don't read the scouting reports?
They read it. They're just distracted. Who's coming to the game? I got to get tickets here. And if I could take their phones away, their computers away, and lock them in Minotti Hall, it would be great.
Do they really? I mean, do they?
Other programs do that. Like, who is it? I think it was King was telling me in New Mexico they took their phones away the day before the game.
So what's to stop you?
I think my guys would have a nervous breakdown.
Do they rush in the locker room and look at like what people said about him on Twitter and stuff?
That I don't know. I don't know. I don't ask them that, but I doubt they would. I shouldn't doubt anything because Chris Jones lives on his phone.
You guys, Notre Dame kind of got stuck in a situation where Duke was just hitting everything and they just ran him off the court. Why do you think you guys are always able to kind of at least stay in games where it does?
Well, I think even in that game where we didn't force any turnovers, we held them to 33% shooting. That we were 37. So our defense, when the offense is not there, our defense can keep us in the game, and it's always been that way. We can come back also. So it's, when you look at schedules right now, it is without question, North Carolina and Louisville and Syracuse have very difficult roads ahead, whereas Notre Dame probably doesn't, if you look at schedules. Virginia probably doesn't. So what you're looking for and you're striving for is to get in the top 4 so you can get a double bye. But it's not going to be easy to achieve that.
Last night, Florida State, 11 losses going into the Duke game. They're fighting for their lives. They played pretty well, almost beat them last night. Is that something that you're kind of telling your guys, that you're going to be facing teams down the stretch that are fighting for their last lives and they're going to be out here trying to beat you?
I think the good thing is our guys know that. The good thing about our basketball team, their attention span's not great, but they're fierce competitors. That's the good thing. In every team you have good and bad, and so you try to make what's not going well in the bad, you try to get them to focus better, but the good thing is they're fierce competitors that play with a lot of pride, and they don't like being humiliated.
Are you still optimistic that one of the guys or two of the guys other than the big four is really going to sort of make a step forward?
I'm not, Rick, to be honest with you. I'm optimistic about their future, but I'm not optimistic about them turning the corner. It doesn't mean they can't have like Honest is very skilled. He's just very weak and gets pushed around all the time. But at the end of the game, in the last 4 minutes of the game, you probably need to have him on the court because he can make free throws.
I mean, like Quentin or Anton or something.
Quentin's fine. Quentin can play offense with the best of them. He just has to learn to keep his man in front of him. And, but offensively, he's as good as the other four guys in terms of he can get the job done. He can score, he can pass, he does great things. It's just defensively, there's a big drop-off. When you go from Chris Jones to Quentin Snyder, you're dropping off big time.
Does he believe, though, offensively that he can?
Yeah, he has practices where he holds his own. He scores a lot of points. He creates a lot of assists. Very good. We just got to keep working with him defensively.
You touched on the double bye. What's your view of the advantages of making that double bye?
I just think there's so many games that happen in a short period of time that the double bye is good because it gets you to really focus in on the game plan at hand, who you're going to play, and gives you a little extra preparation time, which this team needs more than anything else. But it'll be tough to get that double bye because if you got to go through the schedules and realize we're going to have to beat Virginia because it'll boil down to if they win it, it'll boil down to who gets them at the top. And if Notre Dame is second according to the schedule, the way it's played, who gets them? So, you got to look at the tiebreakers and see what happens. But we just got to take care of the next game, and we'll worry about that as we go along. But that is one of your goals. Plus, you don't have to spend 2 extra days in Greensboro. And I say that joking for all the North Carolina people because I don't think I've spent any time in Greensboro. It's probably a great town.
It's not.
No?
How big of a setback is that for Virginia to have to be without Anderson?
It's a big setback, but he'll probably be back for the tournament. And their culture is such that the next player will step up. If it was a different type of culture, it would be a lot more difficult. But with the way they play, they'll survive.
Where does Virginia's defense rank among teams you've played?
Well, they make it difficult for small guards. If you have bigger guards and they come out and trap you like that, bigger guards can see the roll guys better. Once you create good movement, you can go north and south. But if you try to take them on in the beginning like we did in that, like we opened the game beautifully and doing the things we wanted to do, it was 11-11. Then we broke the offense a couple of times and got trapped and took bad shots and it mushroomed. And but if you have big guards and your big guys roll, that big roll guys, you can get in the lane and score on them. But overall, it's as good a defense as there is in the country. Like I told you, the fast break point thing is it's not correct. Okay, it's like we were 3 for 7 in that game and they had for 2 points. It's a software thing that everybody uses, but it's the input of the person putting it in who doesn't understand the fast break, because we had a dunk by Montrez, Terry release, and a Chris release, and that's 3 fast breaks alone. We had 7. So when you hear a lot of times they had 0 fast breaks against them, I'm not sure if that's correct, because who's ever inputting it there is not doing it correctly, at least in our game.
This is off topic a little bit. This is the 20th anniversary of your win over LSU at UK. LSU was top 10 at the time. Shaq, Riley's Chris Jackson. It was one of the most important wins of that era, loudest crowd maybe ever at Rupp. Just some thoughts about that game, what it meant to that program at that time. It's being asked by the CBS in Lexington. Full disclosure.
Let's just concentrate on Pittsburgh. I haven't thought about too much of that.
It said on your radio show last night that that Mango had kind of lost his motivation to keep improving as a sophomore.
I don't think it's motivation. I call it the sophomore jinx. Players don't know they're going through it. They feel good about the type of year they have as freshmen. They embrace it. They don't work as hard as they should, and they forget how hard they had to work to have a decent year. And they go through what is referred to as the sophomore jinx. And the seniors go through it sometimes with what I call senioritis, is they worry too much about the future and they forget about the present. So Mango's going through that portion where he hasn't improved as much as we would like because he hasn't worked as hard at his game like he should have. He certainly has not arrived. He should not have embraced it. But that's why they call it the sophomore jinx.
How much of that is due to the opponent? I mean, Kentucky has 4 7-footers. Duke has the best big man in the country. Virginia's big.
I'm basing it on practice, and I'm not basing it on games. I'm basing it on practice. You know, his skill level, he should not be shooting what he's shooting from the foul line. His passing should not be that way. His footwork should not be that way. So I'm basing it on that. But the other thing about the ACC that's moving forward, and as you look around the country, like I was watching Iowa State play Oklahoma last night. I'm not sure for about a 12-minute span if there was a play run. And it was a game the complete opposite of Virginia versus Louisville. You know, that's what's making everything so much fun, especially in the ACC, because it's almost a parallel to that. You'll get some games like you'll get Carolina versus Louisville, and everybody's going to try to beat the other team to the basket, and then it's life and death to get to the basket. And so every single night, it really is similar to the Big East. It's very, very similar. You know, you can take the Georgetown and say, although Virginia's different defensively than Georgetown, offensively, they have a lot of good ball movement, a lot of good plays, and you have to be very alert. And then you have Pittsburgh, who was in the conference, certainly, and you have Villanova, who fronts everything in the low post, and West Virginia when Huggs was there. So it's very, very similar. And what it does is it brings a different thing to the table every night. And that's where we've struggled this year. It's not struggle because our guys think they can just play hard every single night and you can't. It doesn't work. It doesn't work. It's just like what I keep always referring to is, and I told them going into the Virginia game, this is Wichita State. And if you think you're going to try to be the better offensive team tonight, you won't come away with a victory on the road. We must be the better defensive team. And we didn't get it done. We did field goal defense-wise, but we only turned them over twice. So the better defensive team was going to win that game, and they were. Anything else, guys? Okay, thanks.